Adrian, if you can finish this phrase, you get a prize.
I love prizes.
You need to give it up. Had about enough.
It's not hard to see the boy is mine. I'm sorry that you seem to be confused. He belongs to me. The boy is mine.
You killed it. You killed it. So with that said, who do you think we're talking about tonight?
And I'm just going on a limb here. Could it be Brandy and Monica?
Hey, pew, 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 Brandy and Monica, pew, pew.
I've waited my whole life for this moment. I'm very excited.
Aren't you so excited? Like, to do as girlies who grew up in the 90s, to spend a whole episode, Black girlies who grew up in the 90s at that, to do a whole episode on Brandy and Monica. Come on.
Done. And I have to say, I know a little bit, but this is a story where I really only know surface level. So I have always wondered, and I'm very excited to hear the deep dive today.
Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I'm your host, KJ Miller, founder, lecturer, and content creator.
And I'm Adrienne Rose White, actress, writer, and teacher of how to actually sell a TV show organically.
And today we are discussing the one and only Brandy and Monica. And I'm so excited.
I have waited my whole life for this moment. Everything has been in preparation for this, including the blank slate of all the information I don't know about it beyond one of my favorite songs growing up, The Boy Is Mine.
Well, yeah, buckle up. We're going to learn a lot. And I will just tell you, this is not the episode I was thinking about doing tonight. However, after all of the backlash from the Taylor and Kim episode, I was like, you know what? Let me take a pause on the controversy. Because I feel like Brandy and Monica, I think we all agree both of these women are queens. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who wouldn't say both of these women are queens deserving their flowers. So no matter what is revealed, I feel like we're probably going to end up in a good place and there won't be people yelling at me in all caps.
Do you know what? And because I'll say this, you might end up cutting this, I don't know. I learned a lot from people, I always learn a lot from this podcast, but I learned a lot from people's reactions. It surprised me. Because, like I said, I don't know a ton about pop culture. So what I knew, for example, about Kim Kardashian was just a friend of mine told me to watch some of the first season of the new version of the show, which I did, which was very, positive towards Kim Kardashian. I was like, oh, I don't know what. And that season, at least, I don't know about other seasons, was very like the sisters were all helping each other. Like I wasn't seeing any of the pettiness I had always heard of. So I was like, geez, I always heard of pettiness, but everyone here seems really nice. How weird. And so it wasn't until the story and the reactions that I learned more about what had gone down. And then I had a moment of, should I even be on a pop culture podcast when I don't know about pop culture? And this is what I learned. This is my big takeaway, is that, and I think Taylor Swift would agree with this, and that is whenever you say things in public, people are going to have a reaction. And when you're learning in public, people have really strong reactions. So you have two choices. You can either decide, well, and then I'll just keep quiet and I'm not going to do it. Or you can decide, well, I'm going to learn in public. I'm going to fall in public. And that's what it is. And frankly, if I thought about it, and okay, this is scary to say, but if people were mad because I said something nice about someone, I would always prefer that than people having any reaction to me saying something mean or disingenuous about someone. And I would say anything I said was saying something positive about a person. So, it was a big learning experience for me when I didn't know the fullness of the situation. But even looking back, I can say, okay, well, that was a place where I needed to learn and grow. And I'm so grateful for the space to do that.
I love that. I feel like you're just taking the podcast up a level. You're taking it up because I feel like when you talk about space to learn and learn publicly, you know what I mean? And admit if there's something you didn't know, but still approach things with positivity and curiosity. I mean, I feel like that is another element of what we're trying to do here. Like, let's not just accept the narratives that we're given. Let's not just accept the stories that we're fed, and instead let's approach it with positivity and optimism and curiosity, and let's learn something, and let's fumble a bit and maybe get it wrong and keep going and keep talking, I just think I think that's really lovely. And I think that's a part of the goal of the podcast. So I'm very appreciative for you bringing that up, and appreciative that you didn't text me and say, KJ girl, I'm gonna back out. I'm not, I'm not with it anymore. I'm not with these clowns on the internet being mad at me. So, yes, I completely agree with you. And by the way, let me just say, last week while you were gone, my good friend Anna was our guest, and she is a Swiftie like through and through. Literally her whole podcast is about Taylor Swift, and she's been in love with this woman for years and years and years. And she said she felt that we did a beautiful job on the topic. She said she thought that we were robust in our approach, very thorough, very fair. And so I really take her words to heart, because she's someone I have a lot of just faith in, and someone I've come to really trust and rely upon. And while I'm talking about her, I do want you to know she made you a friendship bracelet. Okay.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure I'm blowing out the mic, but that's so nice.
Isn't it?
What does it say? What does it say?
Okay, so it says, and I know our listeners heard me go through all of the friendship bracelets last week, but it says 2 queens, 2 crowns. And it's in our signature colors. It's got the purple and the gold. So yes, when I see you, because I'm going to be in LA soon, when I see you, I will bring the bracelet.
Okay, so this is gifts on gifts on gifts. Didn't know you were coming to LA. Didn't know I was getting jewelry out of it. Didn't know I had a new friend. I've been off the grid for a week, so I'm super excited to listen to last week's podcast and super excited to make a new friend. Aw, yay.
Yeah. But yeah, Anna thought we did a great job on the show, and Anna did a great job when she was here giving me more context. And like you said, I think learning, even when you're learning in public, is a good thing. That said, I did want to take a bit of a break from the controversy.
Rest and recover.
Yes, let's rest and recover. The duo I was thinking about doing tonight, it would have been a little controversial. So I feel like Brandy and Monica, we get to go back to our nostalgic place, our happy place, and just enjoy for, the next hour. All right. So as always, I would love to start with you telling me what you remember of the Brandy and Monica saga. What comes to mind for you?
Oh, geez. So much less than should come to mind. All I know was that eventually, like, the song is like pretend beef, I'm assuming. But somehow the beef became somewhat real. And I know someone tried to quash it like years and years later, but it didn't get quashed. That's it, really.
Okay. That is a pretty good recollection. You are right that the song was based in, non-existent beef. They were not embroiled in any sort of feud, and certainly were not embroiled in any sort of feud over a man. Thank God. But they did eventually become a bit more embroiled in a feud, funnily enough, because of the song. So that's what I think is so interesting. But before we dive into that, I actually would just want to play the song for us, just to, get us in the mood.
Set the tone. I will say, something just occurred to me. I do feel like I'm trying to remember if when we were kids, that they were pitted against each other before the song, because they certainly came up at the same time. Like, they were two Black singers, and I can't remember if I learned this then or later, but something I heard was like, oh God, actually, I don't know if I want to say that. I think this is okay. I don't know. I can't tell. I'm concerned.
Okay, do it.
That Brandy, like most of the girls who listened to Brandy were the girls that had their own bedrooms, and the girls who listened to Monica were the girls who had to like share their bedrooms with like siblings, like who came up a little harder. I don't know if that's true, but I like vaguely remember someone saying something like that.
Adrian, your pop culture knowledge, it knows no bounds. Yes, you are accurate. And we're going to get to all of that. But I love that just like triggered something for you hearing the song. It kind of puts you back. Yes. Okay. I love that. So now we're both firmly in the mindset of this time, this period in our lives. And obviously this song just catapulted both of them. And this is what I think most people remember when they think about Brandy and Monica. However, I do want to rewind a little bit and talk about their sort of early career leading up to this song, because I think it's very relevant. And I think it starts to hit on some of the things you just mentioned. So first of all, one thing I did not know was how young Brandy and Monica both were when they started their careers and when they sang this song. How old do you think they were when they sang The Boy Is Mine?
Well, until you just now gave that intro about how young they were, so that's making me think younger. But at the time, like when I was young, I thought they were like 20. Something like that. Like I was a kid. So to me, they were adult ladies.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Okay. No, they were not adult ladies. They were 17 and 18. Monica was 17. Brandy was 18. And they both kicked off their careers super early. So Brandy was signed with Atlantic Records when she was 14 years old. And she released her debut album when she was 15 years old in 1994. Okay. 15. I literally can't even wrap my mind around doing much of anything when I was 15, much less a debut album, which, by the way, was an extremely successful album. Do you recall I Want to Be Down?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Now, remind me, was Moesha happening at the same time?
Yes, shortly thereafter. She basically around the same time as The Boy Is Mine, which came out in 1998, kind of in that run-up, she was on Moesha. So in her teens, she was signed, released her first album, hopped on a hit TV show, also did the movie Cinderella. Do you recall that?
I do remember Cinderella. I remember Cinderella, and it was like an Asian prince, and it was the first like multicultural anything I had ever seen.
Yes.
And I remember that was really exciting to me. Like I was like, oh, you don't have to like look the same to be in the family. It really made me like so excited.
Yeah, 100%. So she did Moesha, she did Cinderella with Whitney Houston, by the way, and then did The Boy Is Mine. So Brandy was leading a very charmed life in the 90s, but also was so young when all of this was happening. I want to play one more song. I Want to Be Down was just, it was everything. And again, I just feel like we need to set the mood so we can be firmly ensconced in this time period.
I'm so glad it got to the riff at the end. I can't do it. Not pretending. But that like brought back so many memories. Like that little chunk of it.
Yes, iconic. Yes. Yeah. Brandy is just iconic. Okay. That song was released when she was 15, which means she almost certainly sang it when she was 14. Okay. wild, wild. And so that album was a hit. It peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 200 and peaked at number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts. Okay, so this was a hit, and Homegirl was 15 years old. And one thing that I think is interesting to note about Brandy as well is that she was heavily influenced by her dad, who was a gospel singer. And the reason that's interesting is because Monica was heavily influenced by her mom, who was a gospel singer. So, you know, from the very beginning, you can really start to see how these two were very similar as they came on the scene.
Wow, I didn't know that. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So that brings me to Monica. Similar to Brandy, got her start very young. So she was actually signed. She was signed to Rowdy Records when she was 12 years old, which I'm sorry, that is so wild to me. Like the idea that not only are you a good enough singer, but you have enough control over your voice to sing in such a way that someone would sign you to a record label at the age of 12 is mind-boggling to me.
That's wild.
A record label having that sort of faith in someone this young, I just, to me feels wild. So she gets signed when she's 12, but her first album debuts in 1995 when she's 15. So this is the year after Brandy's debut album. So Brandy's album came out in 94 when she was 15. A year later, Monica's album debuts when she's 15. And this one included one of my personal favorite songs, Don't Take It Personal. Now, do you remember this one?
I just want to be all alone. If you think I treat you wrong, don't take it personal. That's all I have to say about that. It's so good.
You could not tell me anything when I was, 9 years old, 10 years old, singing this little song. Don't take it personal. Like, who was I singing to? It doesn't matter. I felt it, okay, in my bones.
In your soul of souls.
In my soul of souls. And that's why we're about to listen to it.
Iconic. Classic. So good. So good.
Legendary. So good. It's still a bop. And yes,
that beat
so
still
that
slaps, correct.
It still slaps. So yes, that album now, interestingly, like Brandy's album, this one did go to number 1 on the R&B charts. However, on the Hot 200, remember Brandy's went to number 2. Monica peaked at 36. So very early on, it's clear Brandy has more crossover appeal, which I think speaks to what you said. Brandy was for the girls who had their own room. Monica was for the girls who had to share a room, because yes, they were both singing R&B, but for whatever reason, Brandy was crossing over and Brandy was appealing to a wider base. I do think it had something to do with the fact that not only did she have her hit show Moesha come out in these intervening years between her debut album and her, second album, which The Boy Is Mine was on, but also her feature on Cinderella being the lead. And also, I think her temperament in interviews. Monica has been described by her own producer as being from the hood in Atlanta. Okay, so she has been described as someone who wants a man with gold teeth. So I do think also in their temperaments, Monica gave, a little more street, and Brandy gave a little more suburb.
Ooh, I hear that, and that's interesting, and that fits with what I had heard before too, with the bedroom thing, the like having your own bedroom versus having to share. That makes it, yeah, because I do remember there's a phrase that came up for me a couple of years ago, which was palatable black woman, and it's something I've had to like figure out what I feel about, because there's this idea of like, when you're more palatable, then more people like you, but like if you're not fitting into this thing, then you're not considered as desirable. And like this feels like an exact demonstration of that prejudice playing out. Yeah, or like it could be. Yeah.
100%. I don't know if I had heard that exact phrase, palatable Black woman, but I identify with it so much. It resonates so much for me because I feel like I am just personally so often towing that line of being extremely palatable. Oh, KJ's so smart. She's so eloquent. She's so funny. She's so charismatic. And then if I'm like a little bit extra Black, right? I don't know a better way to describe it other than just being a little bit extra Black one day, then suddenly I'm not so palatable. I'm not so humorous. I'm not so charismatic. I do feel like it's a really thin line Black women end up having to walk. It also makes me think about Beyonce, because I feel like Beyonce spent the first half of her career being like mega palatable, and then she released Self-Titled, and then she released Lemonade, and then Renaissance, and now Cowboy Carter. And Beyonce has said, fuck all that relatability, palatability. Like, I'm gonna just be as Black as I am. And it's been interesting watching that, what that's meant for her career and her perception.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about these two incredible singers. Yes, because it's giving a place to bring this up. I've never mentioned this stuff about being palatable as a Black woman in a public forum ever. This is big. This is a big moment in my life. Mm-hmm, thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing it up. And yeah, I do think you really start to see that at play here. So that brings me to the actual song, the moment, The Boy Is Mine. And one thing I definitely did not realize, I don't know if you knew this, but I definitely did not realize this was Brandy's song. As in, Brandy co-wrote it with other writers for herself, for her album, and then invited Monica to join. Did you know that?
I always thought of it as, like, I think I knew it was on Brandy's album. So I always thought of it as Brandy's song in the fact that it was on her album. But I did not know that she co-wrote it or anything like that. I just knew that because it was on her album, it was her, you know what I mean? Like that, that amount of ownership.
But wait, let me just fact check, because I actually thought it was on both of their albums. But yes, it was on both.
Oh, I literally only knew about it. I mean, again, my pop culture knowledge has many holes, but I've remembered thinking of it as Brandy's song that Monica was on for some reason.
And that's so interesting because I remember I didn't think that. I always thought of this as a straight up duet, a straight up collaboration, but no, this was Brandy's song written specifically for Brandy to sing by herself. And then Brandy thought to add Monica. And what's so interesting is, and I didn't know this either, she thought Monica would be the right person to add to the song because the media had already been pitting them against one another. So the media had already been creating this narrative of them being in competition. So she felt like, oh, this is the perfect person to have on this song because there's already this hype around us being in competition. We can take advantage of that, which is just brilliant marketing. You know, she's 17 years old at this time. Brilliant marketing. But like, also, I had no idea.
Wow, I didn't know that either, but that makes so much sense. Yes, a cosign on the brilliant marketing idea. And then sorry, I'm just reacting to that now. That's really cool.
Isn't that so cool? So she said in an interview, she was talking about this, you know, in 2012, she was sort of reminiscing on the duet with Monica in an interview with Complex Magazine. So she was going into detail about the origins of the collaboration and said, at that time, we hadn't really met and we hadn't really known each other at all, but people were pitting us against each other. They were making us into a rivalry, and this was the perfect song to continue that. It just made sense because people already thought we didn't like each other. So we had this song, and it was the perfect song to keep that going. She got on the song, she did so good, and she just made the song what it needed to be. So that's what Brandy had to say about it.
Wow. So it wasn't even meant to interrupt the narrative, like, look, we're working together. It was meant to continue the narrative.
And I think it was meant to like take advantage of the narrative. You know, like if people are already putting our names in the same sentences and acting as if there's this competition, we might as well use that for our good. Which, yeah, it just feels so smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me what happens next. I'm so invested now.
Okay. Well, now, first of all, things deteriorated, okay? Because when the song first came out, they both were going on interviews and saying like how much respect they had for one another and how there wasn't a rivalry. You know, they weren't actually fighting over some boy. They just, you know, thought this would be a great opportunity to get together and do this song together. Okay, so this is what they were saying publicly, and I think probably in the beginning it was true, but then a few things happened in quick succession. Okay. Number one, Monica titled her album "The Boy Is Mine," which is just wild when this is a song that you, sis, were invited to sing on. Like the gall. Okay.
Wait, well, what are the, and forgive, this is another thing I don't know a lot about, but what are the expectations around? Like, is that bad? Again, as if you were speaking to a small child. Is that bad form?
Yes, it is bad form. And I'm not saying there aren't any like rules or laws against it, but typically if you're going to name your album off of a lead single, it should be your lead single. But this was technically Brandy's single that you got on. So for you to capitalize on the success of it by naming your album "The Boy Is Mine," to me, if I were Brandy, I would feel some type of way. Okay. So that to me felt like Monica kind of firing the first shot.
Oh, interesting. Because it's not like she took the writing credit from Brandy or anything, right? Like it's still credited and Brandy gets paid for it being on Monica's album and all the stuff. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I feel like, and again, I'm not saying that's not the appropriate response, but I could see just as taking that as, oh, great, now it's in even more spots and there's a thing on it. But I hear what you're saying, that it makes it, well, I hear what you're saying where it makes it sound like it's more Monica's song. But since Brandy still has the writing credit that Monica doesn't have, and they still both sing on the song, I don't know. I could see it not. I could see a version where that is not as not as destroying of a thing as it clearly was.
That's because you're a nice person. The way I would have been upset. I wrote a song for me, invited you to be on it, and then you titled your album the name of that song. I would have been upset. Okay. So that's number one. But then, so that was in my mind, Monica firing the first shot. Okay. But then in the music video, the thing that the shot that Brandy fired was apparently at the end of the music video. It's towards the end. She kind of puts her hand in Monica's face like and Monica requested that it be edited out, but it never was. Okay. It made the final cut. Okay. And Monica did not like that. All right. So we now have shots fired by both of them. But then the thing that really took the cake, okay, was that Brandy went on the Tonight Show and sang this song by herself. Okay. This was the television debut. It had never been performed live before. She went and performed it live alone on the Tonight Show. And that pissed Monica off.
It's like on one level, it's like Brandy's song, Brandy's album. Like people do their duets like by themselves all the time. But at the same time, as a solo, if you're wanting it to be a thing where like we're in this together, that is to not even request like, hey, can you make it and we'll do this. That's a thing.
And it's also because you're right. People will have features on their albums all the time and then go perform it without that person because that person can't always be at every performance. But this is not, they don't sing this as if one person is featured. Every verse, they are trading back and forth. The whole chorus is done either back and forth or in harmony. And I went and watched Brandy's performance on The Tonight Show. And honestly, it was very hard to watch because it felt like it was missing something. Like it's now that we have all heard it delivered as a duet, it is very hard for anyone to picture it any other way. And I don't know, it felt like she was a little uncomfortable. It felt like the backup singers were a little uncomfortable. It felt like Jay Leno was a little uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? It just felt uncomfortable. Okay.
Everyone was uncomfortable. I'm so curious what the circumstances were too. Like, was it even posed as an option for her to have someone like, I just wonder how it went down too, because I'm guessing Monica and Brandy didn't have like the same agents or whatever either. Like,
right.
Did she?
I think that Brandy got booked to do The Tonight Show, and Brandy decided to sing The Boy Is Mine, which would make sense. It was the #1 song in the country for 13 straight weeks. So if you get booked to go be on The Tonight Show, chances are you'd want to sing the #1 song in the country too. But to do it again without Monica, it felt a little weird. And rumor has it very much pissed Monica off because what we learn later, we don't learn this until years later. They performed at the 1999 Grammys. They performed this song. And shortly before going on stage, Monica punched Brandy in the face. Yes.
About the Jay Leno thing or just in general?
So they have never discussed and clarified exactly why. They actually have never even fully confirmed what happened. We heard about this again years later. Like, I think it was revealed a few years ago by Monica's then producer, Dallas Austin. He's the one who told us, yo, Monica punched Brandy in the face right before that performance. And then everyone sort of speculated as to why and thought that Brandy performing the song by herself on The Tonight Show was a big part of the reason. We don't know for sure because neither of them have confirmed it, but that's what people have speculated.
Okay, yeah, total speculation. Got it. And even that the punch happened is speculation, but that's the speculation. I see. Wow. Oh, I am so impressed with how they handled the narrative to benefit themselves and take them to the next level. And I'm sad that it did not work out as well. It seems like when you bump up to that next level of scrutiny and attention and success, that it's really hard to stick the landing in terms of everybody still feeling, everyone's still getting what they need and feeling like that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it feels like there is this limited resource you're both trying to access, and that resource being public attention, right? If it feels like we've got this big hit song, it's #1 on the charts, and we both have to take as much advantage of it as possible, and any bit of shine you get is shine that I potentially am not getting, and vice versa, I can very much understand how that would lead to a real life tension, whereas before it was simply, a narrative that the media was putting on them. Now it feels like, oh, I've got something to lose. Before, people were just talking shit about us and like, who cares? But now we're both in the spotlight. We both have this chance to grab it and run with it. And anytime you take more of the attention, that's attention I'm not getting. Like, I'm guessing it felt like a zero-sum game,
Yeah, yeah. And when you're I mean, they were so young when this was
So
going on
young.
too.
17 and 18. That's the other thing. Do you remember all the nonsense fights we had in college when we were 19, 20? Like, just nonsense.
Just complete nonsense. And now it's like nonsense, but it's in front of the whole world with
Yeah.
money on the line. That's
Yes.
much harder. Yeah.
Much harder, much harder. And like you said, I mean, there was also just so much at play kind of underneath the surface. There is this palatable Black woman sort of trope. There is Monica being treated or perceived as being older, but also a bit rougher around the edges. Brandy being seen as being, TV ready, and the girl next door, both of them being Black women, so having to walk on eggshells in order to protect the little bit of an empire that they were trying to build. There's just so much at stake. And they were 17 and 18. It's wild.
This is it's giving Britney and Christina vibes. Like
Yes.
they were so young too. And like, yeah, it's giving, but these two came first. These two were on it before. So I will rephrase, the Britney and Christina is giving Monica and Brandy vibes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the accurate way of saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's so funny is I feel like the fact that it felt like this limited resource, the fact that it felt like this zero-sum game to them, when to so many of us, it felt like just an amazing time to be alive because we had these two Black women both doing big things. I remember playing both of those albums on repeat. I could not get enough. I would listen to Monica's front to back, then I would switch it up and listen to Brandy's front to back. This is all I did that year, and so it didn't. Yeah, I'm sure I played into a little bit of the Brandy's better than Monica, Monica's better than Brandy, because we all did whatever. But I certainly wasn't like, oh, I'm only going to listen to Brandy now. Absolutely not, And so it's. I hate that it felt kind of zero sum, because that's not how it felt to me as a fan and a consumer of their music.
I think that's really well said. And the fact that, yes, we could see multiple flavors of Black women thriving in music was such a powerful image for us at such a young age. And yeah, I'm really curious at the next part of this, because per usual, Kristen Jones Miller, you have laid things out in such a way where I'm on the edge of my seat. What happens now?
Okay, well, definitely both of these women went on to have pretty successful careers. I will say one highlight is that in 2020, when we were all, locked up, boarded up because of the pandemic, they were on Versus. Do you remember the Versus series on Instagram?
No, I remember they did something like in the last 5 years, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay, so Versus I think it was originally put on by, I want to say Jermaine Dupri, but he would host. He started this in the pandemic, having two kind of iconic either singers, I think sometimes rappers, in what he called a versus challenge. And they would both just go back and forth kind of playing and or performing their top hits. And so Brandy and Monica, I remember this was sort of later, I want to say around like August 2020. So at this point, multiple people had already done it. So this was big because people had really leaned into this. And they did a versus. I think it was the biggest one. I remember Michelle Obama tuned in. Kamala Harris tweeted about it. Like people were definitely viewing. And they tuned in, they did the versus challenge, and they were very, I would say, cordial during it. They did not come across as besties at all, but they did come across as cordial. Both of them had kind things to say about one another. Certainly it did at certain moments seem a little bit tense. I think Monica in particular seemed a little bit more rigid from what I recall, because I did tune in for a good chunk of it. but they were very cordial. And so based on that interaction and some of what was said in interviews leading up to the Versus Challenge, it sounds like for the most part, the beef is behind them. They had a couple kind of run-ins and tweets and Instagram posts over the last years, before 2020. But it sounds like for the most part, they're both done with the beef. They've laid it to rest. And also they're both, grown-ups now.
They're grown. This is how grown women can handle things.
And so that brings me to Queens helping Queens. And I don't think I'm going to say anything too controversial here, but I'll start with how Brandy helped Monica. I think first and most obviously, bringing her on to the song, The Boy Is Mine. This, I think in a lot of ways, changed the trajectory of Monica's career. She was very firmly ensconced in R&B. She wasn't really regarded as a crossover artist. And then she got on the number one song. It was number one for 13 weeks. She literally named her album The Boy Is Mine to take advantage of it. And I think it catapulted her to a level of success and fame that she probably would not have enjoyed had she not been asked to be on that song with Brandy. So I definitely think Brandy helped Monica a lot when it comes to asking her to be on the song.
That makes sense to me. Easy cosign. Yep.
Now, the other way I'm going to say Brandy helped Monica is she did not reveal for years and years and years. To this day, she actually has not revealed or confirmed that Monica hit her right before going out onto the Grammy stage. And let me just say this, to the extent that it's true, and they've both alluded to the physical altercation, so I do believe it's true. To the extent that it's true, I have so much respect for Brandy because I think she very much understands that it's so easy for Black women to be branded as angry, as overly aggressive, as unprofessional, as temperamental, all of these stereotypes that we all live with and work to fight against. And I'm sure she knew, had she been upfront about whatever the altercation was, it could have branded Monica, potentially her as well, but certainly Monica. And she didn't. She never uttered a word. We literally didn't hear about it until Monica's producer told the world about it a few years back. And so I definitely think that also helped Monica's career. And I think Monica owes a little bit of gratitude to Brandy for that.
Ooh, I had not thought of it that way before. And it's so interesting us doing these at a distance. It always raises more questions of like, I want to ask the artist, maybe if the podcast gets big enough someday, we can have the artist on and be like, so what was this like? What do you think? But that makes certainly, because you could have someone arrested for assault. So certainly not pressing charges on that, I think is probably helping keeping Monica's career going forward. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then that brings me to how Monica helped Brandy. And again, this first one, no surprise here. As much gratitude as Monica owes Brandy for bringing her onto the song, The Boy Is Mine, I think Brandy very much owes gratitude to Monica for joining the song, because I just don't think that song would have been the hit that it was if it weren't the two of them. I think the song needed to be a duet. I think Monica added a perfect vocal. I think they both were phenomenal in the music video. And I think Brandy needed Monica as much as Monica needed Brandy. So I absolutely think Monica helped Brandy and Brandy's career by joining the song.
I 100% cosign. Like, so easy. Yes, correct.
And then the second one, I will say another thing I didn't really realize before researching this show, when I saw just how young they were, and I thought why did I think they were so much older? And then I went and looked at who else was topping the R&B charts in this time frame, in this 1998, 1999. And it was mostly much older individuals. It was Boys to Men. It was Casey and JoJo. It was Janet Jackson. It was Kelly Price. It was older individuals. And so the way I think Monica also helped Brandy was really by contributing to making young R&B a genre, because Brandy was sort of out here, this young teenager when she debuted, on a ledge by herself, and everyone else was much older. And so there was definitely a world where she wasn't going to be taken seriously. And I think Monica stepped up and entered and almost made it more of a genre and made both of them more serious contenders in that way in the realm of R&B.
That makes so much sense to me. It's that thing of when there's more than one, when there's a pack, it's a movement. Like one person can be interesting, but when there's more, then there's a genre, there's a movement, there's something bigger happening. Yeah. So by joining and I think you nailed it when you said Monica's vocals are flawless. Yeah. Like just phenomenal. So having someone else at that level in the playground, I think elevates the game.
Exactly. And that's
that I agree. I mean, you got not even a rubber stamp. This is better, but this was very clearly articulated. I'll be back for another one. The show stays on.
We'll live to see another day.
Like every episode is like, how are we going to prove it? Are we going to make it? This one's like, oh yeah. Yeah. Win.
We got
Easy.
It. We got it. All right, folks, this is typically when we would shout out our favorite comment. However, when I went over to YouTube to find a favorite comment, I saw that we have officially made it to 1,000 subscribers. This is amazing. I have to use this time to say thank you because this is huge.
That's incredible. Thank you, everyone who's subscribing. Oh my God, we're so happy that you come and hang out with us. Let us know what you think. We are here, we are listening, and this is honestly one of my favorite things to do in the week. So I feel very grateful that you, KJ, invited me to be a part of this, and so grateful for everyone who's listening.
Yeah, same. And it's happened relatively quickly. I mentioned on last week's episode, I think we were at like 850. So something's in the water, but I love it. Keep drinking it because
keep putting that crystal light in.
Mm-hmm. We love to have you and we love how engaged you guys are. So keep leaving your comments. We will continue responding and shouting you out. And yeah, we're very grateful. So thank you guys.
That's it for this week, everyone. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at 2 Queens, 2 Crowns and to check out the podcast on YouTube, 2 Queens, 2 Crowns.
Adrienne and I would also love for you to follow us on our personal socials. I'm on TikTok at @Iam_KJ Miller and YouTube with the handle IamKJ Miller. And Adrienne's on IG at Adrienne Rose White and TikTok at wrong_or_right. See you next week.